All right. All right, here we go. Another True Brew Bobcast here at the end of Détente Road at Cafe Détente in Youngsville. Welcome Todd Delaune, he's owner of Red White and Brew, and Mr. Antonio from Cortona, Italy.
Yeah.
Correct. Cortona, under the Tuscan sun.
So we're not drinking coffee today, we're drinking wine. Todd, if you want to pour it up, bro, let's get it started.
Absolutely.
And some bourbon.
While we're doing that, let me explain to your audience what a screw top really is. There's a misconception about screw tops out there. The proper term to use is a Stelvin closure. And the other half of that equation is it's not something to be scared of. It's actually one of the best ways to store wine, unless you're cellaring wine long term. So the Stelvin closure is a really easy way to do things. And it also doesn't mean that it's cheap wine, because I have opened bottles of $100 wine that had a Stelvin closure on it. So
they've been on that about 8 or 10 years or more.
Quite a while, yeah, quite a while. And it's growing in popularity a lot because it's really a great way for the winery to do it. It's a lot less expensive, too. Corks and foils are really expensive.
Cool. All right, we're going to start off with Antonio from Cortona, Italy. Listen, let's. I was so fortunate to make a trip to Cortona a couple of summers ago. Best trip of my life. You literally grew up there. So for the audience, tell us a little bit about Cortona, a little bit about the region, and what it was like growing up as little Antonio in Cortona. He's a shy guy, y'all, so we're going to dig it out of him.
Very shy. And when he give me a chance to talk, the problem is who stop me. This is the problem. But, the good things is the fact that born and grow up in this very small village, because Cortona is very old city.
Like
just
how
to
old?
give you
Give us some
idea, Cortona base history is around the 8th century before Christ. So you're looking about 2,800 years ago. Cortona base established by civilization called Etruscan. Etruscan was a very smart civilization. The civilization that the Roman take over, and the base learn everything, destroyed the civilization, and the base the Roman use everything they learn to expand all entire empire.
What blew me away is like what you read in the books and what you think. Y'all had a full fortress, a wall around the whole town of Cortona.
And the beauty about this, Cortona was building in the top of this hill, located in the part of one of the beautiful valley in Tuscany called Val di Chiana. Val di Chiana is the name of the valley. And the city was later on by the Etruscan surrounded by a 3 miles of a wall. Still, the bottom of this wall is the originally part, and you will see the big difference for the fact that when you arrive and look in the wall, the bottom of the wall are very large stone. Sometimes you can say over 3 to 3 meters, so 6-8 feet long by 2 feet high. Same things on deep. Coming and base surround all entire city. Of course, century after century, the other civilization, the wall was destroyed, rebuilding, and the new civilization uses small size of stone. So you will see the different shape of the wall, rebuilding later on until the late 1800.
So the way I remember you explaining it is the word Italy, the country, it's a pretty new name, right? The word Italy.
Italy by himself is a young country. Italy was only divided in a different, what you call different state, starting from the north, central, south part of the island, and only in 1871 was reunited and was created what is Repubblica Italiana, the Italian Republic. So technically the size of Italy today divided in 20 different regions, it is represent of young history of Italy.
So you grew up in this old, small
village,
town,
small town.
village, and so when I was running up and down, went to your old school or whatnot. So what was it like when Antonio was 8 or 10 years old running the streets of Cortona? It was a lot different than today, right?
Completely different now. Unfortunately, the civilization, the population in Cortona is the local people living, the permanent resident Cortona is less than 800 people. When I grew up, I was very close, over 5,000 people. Young generation move out in the new city down next to Cortona that is called Camusia, or many other area for opportunity of work. Today Cortona is a town and is a beautiful, nice tourist time. Plenty of coffee, plenty of place to eat, drink, relax, have fun.
So you were the last really generation to grow up, live there, and be self-sustaining.
Technically was the last generation. If at the time I'm born in Cortona was a hospital. So you are from Cortona. If you're born in Cortona today, don't exist anymore the hospital in Cortona, because for practice is move in the central of the valley, because it is easy for car, ambulance, for something to have a more efficient hospital. So technically, nobody born in Cortona anymore. You born in the common of Cortona, but really you born on this hospital in the village of Fratta. So technically, is no more people, for the way I see,
No more natives.
born in Cortona.
Right.
Well, I tell you, it was very charming and beautiful, and the restaurants and everything in the town was a great home base, and we can have 3 podcasts just on the little town.
Oh, yeah.
Let's kind of move into the wine. So how did little Antonio become such a wine lover and bring us, you falling in love with wine, becoming sort of a horticulturalist, or understanding how the wine is made, the grapes, and from all the farms, and then becoming a rep for wine. So let's start off with your love for wine.
But to be Italian people, when you eat great food, you need to drink. In Italy, you have 2 choices to drink when you grow up, water and wine. You know? And joking, water make you rust, so you need to drink a good wine, because wine, if you are a little pale, my grandmother always say, you need to drink a red wine. If you are too red, you need to drink a white wine, so you balance your body. But this is a part of the Italian culture. Family, everybody, small family, my uncles or friend have this small, I don't call a winery, it was more like a farm, where they produce their own wine, family wine, just for the family. My father in 1937 moved from North Italy, from Veneto to Cortona, where I met my mom and opened with 3 other brothers 3 grocery stores. Mm-hmm. We have a bakery, and later on was open a restaurant.
All within the walls.
All on the walls. Mm-hmm. So basically, you kids born to enjoy good food, little wine, drink it with moderation, and the base fell in love with a different style that at the time was not so much important, because at the time, if you look in our area of Cortona, the first recognized DOC wine was the white wine Bianco Vergine Valdichiana, the white wine from the Val di Chiana area, where today the most important variety is more on the red section with the Syrah from Cortona.
Yeah, they're good too.
That is completely different style than when I grow up. So really Cortona improved in the past 20-25 years level quality of wine with a lot of small tiny producer in the area, and the variety Syrah is today one of the most unique, recognized and connect with the Cortona.
So at what age do Italians usually start breaking their kids into some wine?
But normally, when I grow up, I don't know we're supposed to have age to drink wine. I never know until I come in this country that you have a limit for everything. 21 to do this, 18 for... It's not too much. But important things that Italian family always, we had a very great education how to drink wine. So we always drink while we eat. The famous, what we call a baby wine and water, okay? Was a base put in front of you and push close to your meal as soon you start to eat. So you start to eat, you are able to drink your water and wine. And from there on, in the young age, is normal at the age of probably 15, 16, you have your own pizza with your friend, drink maybe at the time more a glass of a beer or a glass of wine as that. We never abuse more than what, because wine is a pleasure to enjoy while you eat.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of studies on it. This helps your digestive system, it helps your blood. It's y'all
Don't
figured
make
it
you
out.
rust.
Yeah. All right, so let's get a little bit outside of Cortona and tell us about the valleys and the Tuscany area. Is that where you get most of your wine from?
But the valley the valley is surrounded by many different hillside, and the hillsides is where normally the variety of grapes growing better, because the variety of grapes do not need high elevation, of course, but at the other end, do not growing very well on swampy or wet, humid area. That's why here in Louisiana, I don't think you can grow any good grapes, okay? So the hillside is the best area surround the valley of Val di Chiana, where Syrah, more modern, or other variety like a Sangiovese, of course, to be in Tuscany, or more international grapes like a Merlot, Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
We have a producer of a Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and some white grapes. Of course, Trebbiano, to be in Tuscany, are used to produce different quality, high-level wine. Yes.
So a couple fundamental things here. How old is a grapevine, or how old can some of these grapes get, the actual vine and plant?
But everything depends by the variety of grapes. Okay, each grapes is like anything. Some grapes have the opportunity to age for many years. You can have a vine that can arrive easy 40, 50, 60 year older.
60-year-old.
Older. Some variety grapes a little less. But is the point sometimes too old grapes is like too young grapes. In the way as a quantity, you are not able to have a lot quantity. Of course, very young vine don't have a high quality of a fruit compare old vine that can have a small quantity of a fruit and high quality. So everything depends by the winemaker or the type of grapes, depend what you want to do. Of course, normally we always say that medium age, a vine above a 15-year-old, 20, and between probably 15, 20 to 35, 40 is where normally, in general, is the best quality of grapes.
And if you plant rootstock, it takes about 3 years before you can get your first yield off of that vine anyways. So it takes a little while for the vine to mature. But the more they mature, he said it best, is some of them are 40, 60 years old. Much better fruit, but much lower yields. So that's the trade-off.
Y'all talk about, I'm gonna jack this up, y'all straighten me out. So what is it when you're raising your grapes to put out wine and you're doing it purely natural, something with a G in it?
Something with a G?
Like it's, if you look,
On the level. Okay, this is a classification of level of wine. So you talk about in the label, sometimes you find the word DOCG, this letter.
what
The
is
letter
that?
G. The G means a guarantee.
Guarantee.
Guarantee. So the letter D is a denomination, O origine, C control, and the G guarantee.
And so you'll have agents come out to verify that you're doing everything according to the guarantee.
The wine that have this appellation, that of course the wine with the DOCG appellation represents a small quantity of wine produced. Little larger is a DOC, little more large is the IGT, indication geographic typical. So more you go up on this scale, more control and more kind of specific law are to produce quality but consistent.
But it's regulated by the government too, right? The Italian government.
Yes,
Right? Yeah.
is
Well, kind of like equal to our USGA or something like that.
absolutely.
DA or whatever.
Certifications. Yeah.
Certification. So speak on it a little bit more. So no herbicides, no pesticides. You can't even water the plant. I mean, kind
These
of
are-
go into how strict it is.
Yeah, this depends again by the type of wine, okay, and depend of the region and the area where you are. Of course, we went together to see a Chianti winery. So in the Chianti region, after the plant reach, I think, the 5th year old, you are forbidden to water the plant. Why you do this? Because you want to make the plant develop strong roots. Okay? And to develop strong roots, you need to make the plant technically struggle.
Struggle, right.
Okay?
So you got to make the plant struggle. So the owner of the vineyard knows this as well. It's not like he's trying to sneak water in it, right?
Oh, no.
But technically on this DOCG wine is illegal. Okay, normally people don't do it. Now, if you are a private owner to produce your own wine, technically you can do whatever you want. It's always exception include on this DOCG wine where you have this extreme summer because grapes, a vine need little water because after 3-4 months, if it's not
They can
very
lose
old
its crop,
wine,
right?
we can lose the plant too. Yes.
Oh, you can lose the plant. So do I lose my verification or my
Certification, yeah, certification.
or do I water and keep my plant?
No,
It's a fine line.
Sometimes when it is extreme, it was 2 years ago, extreme summer is the consorzio, for instance, of the Chianti, they authorize few days to prevent the loss of everything because it is the interest of everybody. You of course try to follow a specific rule, but each rule have sometimes exception in extreme case.
So speak a little bit on soils and angles of hills and altitude and all the things that go into making wonderful wine. I mean, what as a wine
But
distributor?
is like I mentioned, grapes is a style of a plant that really can growing very well in what you call poor soil, rocky soil. Okay, in a soil that sometimes you're not able to grow in any kind of a crop, like for instance corn, okay, that you need to have a lot of dirt, okay,
Topsoil.
topsoil, very fertile.
So these things
soft.
just got a root. They go down.
They go down. There is you can easily have adult vine have 15, 20 meters of roots. So you talk about over 60 feet of roots.
But it's the soil that it taps into is where, and Todd, you can speak on this if you want. That's where you start getting your notes and your taste. And I mean,
there's a common word in the industry. It's called terroir. And terroir has everything to do with the entire environment, meaning the soil, the sun, the air. If you plant close to, for example, an ocean, you're going to get more minerality in your wine. So yeah, that term, terroir, is a really loose term, but it literally means what affects the outcome of that fruit, you know? So that's kind of what the word terroir means, all of the elements involved to create a flavor profile. You know, lots of years people have been planting grapes, so they've learned where it's best to plant what type of grape and what elevation gives you a better yield or a different acidity and all of these different things. So there's a lot of science that goes behind the process of growing grapes. It's not just go throw some dirt in your yard and stick a grape plant in it and make wine. You'll end up with, excuse me, you'll end up with what we talked about is Louisiana can grow really sweet grapes well because our soil's too rich, it's too wet, it's too moist. But it can't grow really good varietals like Cabernets and Merlots and Sangioveses because it needs a drier terroir.
You don't want it to
drier
stand water soil. You want a drainage soil.
Right.
The grapes need the water, yes, but don't need the permanent water.
well, this kind of segues into kind of what how I wanted it to go, and we can double back. No, this isn't an interview, but so I'll speak first that because I'm guilty. I was just a neighborhood wine drinker. I mean, and everybody's guilty. I know everybody's watching this. Everybody got the aisle wine and the sale and all that, and
Strawberry.
And oh, this is good. So y'all got
Boone's
this. They got but I gotta thank Todd mainly, and then eventually Antonio to coaching my palate on wine, and until you know the things that we're talking about. You're just not gonna know when you don't know what you don't know. So with what y'all just said, if I want to become a better wine drinker, okay, give us some general rule of thumbs. If you're just a grocery store cardboard dough cheap wine drinker. And I say, you know what? I'm gonna commit to being a better wine drinker. Where do we start?
Well, let me kick off one thought process.
101.
Because I went on a wine cruise with Gary Eberle. Gary Eberle is a pretty famous winemaker out of Paso Robles. In fact, he's considered the godfather of Paso Robles. And I'm on this wine cruise, and I'm young wine drinker, probably a few years in, and love wine, but I don't really know how to express myself. So I go to talk to Gary, and his infinite wisdom. I said, Gary, what makes a bottle of wine a good bottle of wine versus an average bottle of wine? And his answer was so simplistic that I almost cried. He said, whether or not you like it.
Okay.
Whether or not you like it. So the thing that I try to tell everybody is, when your palate is young, you have a tendency to like sweeter wines. And then as your palate matures, you want less of that sweet and you want more of the flavor of the fruit. So that's kind of what the diurnal shift, if you will, if that's the right word to use or not, I don't know. But you kind of find this swing that you start drinking sweet wines, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I just don't want sweet wine anymore. I want something a little drier. Then you move to something a little more fruity, like maybe a Pinot Grigio, right? Because that's something you can move into. And then maybe something a little heavier on the white side, like a Chardonnay. And then eventually you start moving into the red wines that are drier. You hit a little Pinot Noir. You move into all these other varietals, and then someday, bam, you're drinking Petite Syrahs that taste like you're chewing velvet,
So how
it's an evolution of the
like
palate,
the physical, like we talk about palate pretty, but I mean y'all taught me how and we can go over that in a second, how to properly air your wine and do all your stuff. But when it actually hits your mouth, you know, what's your go-to? Do you let it just run over your tongue and come through your nostrils, or what?
But normally, the wine can be very simple, and it can be very complicated. Can be very simple, depend, how you approach. I always say, don't be let you intimidated by the wine. What means? Means a base. If you want to start, the best way to learn is like everything is a practice. Okay, and a practice, if you like learn in the smart way, that the base is buy a bottle of wine, not very expensive, write the name, the variety of grapes, and write down what you like and what you don't like. Based on this, you start to move towards to a wine that have characteristics similar to what you like. Right. To come back to you, what is the best wine? The best wine is what you like it. Yeah. Everybody different palates. Now, one thing I tell you, normally you always, if you never drink a wine, you don't want to start from the biggest wine.
You don't.
Or the most expensive. Not because it's expensive, it means it's the best. Because you never try. It's like a beer. If you start a beer, sometime in American way, you start from this light beer. You cannot go for this strong pale, you call it in English, strong dark pale, because it knock you down. Some things with the so.
You know what I like to compare it to, Antonio, is coffee.
Yeah,
because I've been around coffee my whole life, and you know what? I'm not even mention the brand, but if you're a Cajun from down there, you drink one brand.
Yep.
And that's what I know.
Correct.
Everybody has it, and then all of a sudden, I started learning a little bit about beans, grinding my own beans, learning what an espresso is, learning how to drink it, learning what to look for, and now I've been on good coffee, and the other day I tasted the old coffee, and I was just like, "Oh my God!"
What is this crap?
Not that it was crap,
Right,
but it was like,
yeah.
man,
It's the evolution of your
But
palate.
you exactly say the exactly things. So are you starting the coffee to drink wine?
Yeah.
Correct? The wine you can do the same.
A lot of milk.
Take a bottle
lot
of
of sugar.
wine. And of course, again, you can start with the white or you can start with the rosé. You can start anything, not because, and see how you react. Of course, I always, coming from Italy, never judge wine for the first sip, never judge the wine without food. Because the wine change.
Why is that important?
It's important because it technically come back from our beginning conversation. Wine in Europe, in Italy,
Very much
is a complement of food.
Yeah.
Is why in Italy people say you stay at lunch or dinner so long. First because we like enjoy the food, but at the same time we like have slowly a sip of wine every bite of a food.
So when y'all say pairing, is that important to pair the wine right?
Well, to back up one thing he said, though, is that the Europeans kind of believe that food and wine are inseparable. Like here in America, we make a lot of really terrific wines in California, but some of them are not really high in tannin. And when I say tannin is that little dryness that it gives your palate, that little chalkiness. But that's really designed more for food. So in America, we make wines that are a little more fruit forward for the most part. And as a result of that, we think, well, okay, this is a porch sipper. This is not necessarily needed with food. But in Italy, they literally engineer their wines to be more food friendly. They really do. They want more tannins in them. They want more of those grippy things that stand up to foods and fatty foods and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting, the differences between the old world and the new world.
Talk a little bit about the different kind of wines, Antonio, if you will, with a broad stroke. Like, for example, a Chianti. What does that mean? Like, people say, I want a good Chianti. What does that mean?
So Chianti is a wine region.
Right. It's a region. So
Chianti,
now we're a geographic region.
No, we have a wine region. Okay, because if you remember, I mentioned at the beginning that Italy is a country divided in 20 regions. Okay, so let's take, for instance, one of these 20 regions that is Tuscany, geographic region of Tuscany. Inside the Tuscany region, there are many different wine region. And Chianti is one of these wine region. Okay? So Chianti is a wine region. Chianti is the style of a wine.
Okay,
But
can you
Chianti,
speak on style for a second?
style means that is this wine coming from this region produced with specific variety of grapes and age between oak and bottle, depending the type of Chianti. Because now when you go in Chianti, you choose one wine, one the most complicated on different level, but you find different level. You have Chianti, Chianti Superiore, Chianti Classico, Chianti Riserva, Gran Selezione. So each this level have a different aging process, different way to produce, different price point. But what they have in common is the major grapes on this Chianti region is Sangiovese.
Say that again.
Sangiovese.
Okay.
Sangiovese. Okay. So you know when you buy a Chianti, you have a variety called Sangiovese.
So so essentially what he's saying is if you like Chianti, you like that style of wine. If you say I'm looking for a Chianti, you like that style of production. Yeah.
So again, you can have in the Chianti a very light wine when you choose a base Chianti.
So you might say, hey, we having wild boar tonight. That pairs well with a good Chianti.
Chianti, in this case, I will be not choose a regular Chianti. I will be go more on the Chianti Classico, Chianti Riserva, that compare base Chianti is a wine that is aged in oak barrel, have what you call more body, have what you call more flavor intensity to compare in this case with a specific meat that you have. Where a base Chianti will be more lighter, soft glass of Chianti with some cheese, a pizza. Okay.
So it goes back to food again. The best way to enjoy wine is to have something with it.
Italian, and you remember
culture.
we went
do.
outside of have a wine for lunch or dinner. You remember when we go have what you call a cocktail, we call aperitif before dinner. We sit down at the bar, they bring you a prosecco, but what do they bring with the prosecco?
Something to eat.
Chips, some
A
crackers.
plate of a little something to eat.
Meat or cheese.
Because technically you come back at the beginning, eat and drink.
Yeah.
I know it's just a glass of a prosecco, but 2 bites of food make you feel better, make your body handle.
And, I
the
have to
food
say, I'll
and the
speak
wine
for
better.
myself, and both of y'all helped me and Dee Dee out both tremendously, is you almost have to point out what you're doing to train your brain.
Right.
like Antonio would say, no, eat that and then drink that. And then when you do it, if you take a second to see what your taste buds and your brains and everything's doing with it, then you start saying, all right, well then now I start to get it. So,
And to address one thing about pairings, and I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they think, okay, I'm eating a sweet food, I need to eat sweet wine. But the real thing you want to do when you pair food with wine is to pair acids. So, for example, if you're eating something that's super high in acidity, like a red sauce, then you want a wine that's high in acid to match that. That's why.
you're high. Oh, you
Yeah,
want to
you want to
match
match
it.
your acids.
Okay.
You pair your acids is what you really do. So that's why these Italian wines work really well with acidic products, acidic foods, because they are high in acid and tannin. So they balance themselves out when you taste them across the palate with the food.
But sometimes, again, you want to start to drink a wine, don't be
Right.
scared, say,
Right.
oh my gosh, what I
Try
eat
it.
tonight, if I have this, what wine I need to have. Don't worry about it.
Like tonight, we're gonna have a wine tasting. Been
Okay.
a bunch of them.
Yes.
Okay. And so I don't listen to anybody anymore. I mean, I hear Antonio talking his bullshit, But
Beautiful story.
Beautiful story.
Beautiful.
But you know, the
beautiful
truth
story.
is, it goes back to your statement. It's. I'm trying to figure out, hey, does this fit me well?
Do you like it?
And
That's it.
I'm thinking, wow, this wine's great. The next one not so good, and then the next one's like, oh no, that was you know what I mean? So I love wine tastings because it just gives you that range and it starts to narrow, and it's just like this wine right here. I got at one of your last wine tastings. Didi and I both loved it.
It's delicious.
And bought a bunch. And so
But
would you suggest that's how you advance your
this
wine
is
palate?
very great. It's like I say, you can buy your own wine, but practice. Practice is, I don't want that you become alcoholic. Okay, buy 200 bottles, drink every night. But take advantage to go different testing. Testing of a different style of wine. Can be Californian wine, can be Italian wine, French wine, any kind. So you compare and see what is your style. Because at the end, you come back, what is the best wine? Like you just say, what I like it. Tonight we'll have 7 different wine. Each wine are completely different style. Why I do this? Different style, different grapes. Why? Because like you mentioned, my goal is find people discover his own type of wine. Yeah. So if you take only one variety, for instance, a Pinot Noir, and somebody don't like for some way a flavor or aroma in the Pinot Noir, you can try any Pinot Noir you want it. You don't like it. But you cannot say, I don't like a wine. You do not like a Pinot Noir.
And mood has a lot to do with it, right? It's what you're in the mood for, right?
Yep, that's it.
You want to chill out, you're in the mood for dancing, love, food, whatever.
But a tasting is a great way to do it, though, because, you know, most tastings, and we've done, we were just talking about it earlier, we've probably done north of 400 of these since we've owned the brew. You know, at a tasting, we set up the tasting in order of the progression of aggression. So you start out with the mildest tasting wine, and you work your way up to the biggest tasting wine. So you get a really long breadth of what different types of wine you want. We usually feature 8 wines tonight. I think we're doing 7. So, right. But tonight we're doing all the time. Same thing though. Is you're going to go through all of these wines, and we're going to serve the biggest one last, so that each one stands up to the previous one.
When y'all say the biggest one, the boldest wine,
either the boldest or the most acidic, could be that at the end too, because that's going to have a striking effect on your palate too.
So look, wine like coffee and bourbon and everything is big business.
It is.
And so you represent Italian wine mostly.
I work for a distributor, and I'm responsible for all straight Italian wine, yes.
And so clearly there's going to be a little sparring and some competition with, is it the French and then California? Or how
But
I want to start some shit right now, Antonio. I want to fire you up, right?
No, you don't start nothing because honest, you know, you do not drink a wine, Italian wine with only Italian food. Right. You don't drink a French wine with a French food. Okay? So wine you need to drink again by the profile, the style that you like, okay? So of course it's a competition. My competition with everything. Italian compete with Italian wine, because when you take the category of a Pinot Grigio, that is an Italian-based category, because we honor the majority of a brand in what you call the wine store, okay? Right. Everybody has so many Pinot Grigio, different styles. So Italian compete with Italian. Yeah. Okay. Now, the beauty today about the wine business that people start to be a lot more interested to learn and try wine. You have a lot more producer in any country. Think about the progress the United States done in the past 30 years.
It's insane. Yeah.
How many new wineries there are in California, just California?
Crazy.
How's California doing?
But I'm Italian.
They do make great
you know
wines,
the market.
Though.
I mean, well, let me ask Todd, because
yeah.
he sells this stuff. California's They went in some medals, right?
California's rocking, man. They really are. They're making world-class wines now. And you know, the thing about it is...
Now, hey, let me ask you this before you
sure.
talk about.
Yeah.
Did California get some plants and all from the motherland over there, or how did it originate?
That's a really good question, because you know somebody had to put some clippings in their briefcase somewhere.
It's not natural over there.
Right. But one thing that did happen in France, and this is a fact you can look up on Google if you want to, is that France actually had a problem with phylloxera, and a lot of their vines died. And oddly enough, Texas had some of the native fruit from there that they actually cut clippings and sent back to France with them. And that's where they rebuilt their vineyards from, was from Texas. So that's a little history.
So Texas kind of entered the market the last 10 years.
They're making really pretty wines. They're not big in distribution right now in Louisiana. That's why I don't carry hardly any of them.
But technically, you look
they
in
make really good
every
wines. Good wines.
part of the state, the United States, everybody produce wine. I was reading that exists a winery in Alaska.
Wow.
1 or 2 wineries exist in Alaska. So technically today you see many people interesting more and more not only to drink but to produce.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is again a largest competition. You love a coffee. Think about the coffee. You know, coffee. Italy is the largest. People say we export a lot coffee, but we don't produce it technically. Coffee, we buy beans. We don't grow in beans
roast
in Italy.
them here.
Right.
We don't grow in beans in Italy. We don't have a climate to grow in, but we excel so much coffee. So when you looking to say Italy sells so much coffee, a lot of producer of coffee, you see a much more competition we can make to the tradition coffee country in the world.
Well, how's the vineyard owners, the owners of the vineyard, the farmers, I would call them, are they faring well? Do they make a pretty good living?
Oh, I'm pretty sure if they open so many and the price they make, I'm pretty sure they do. It's very hard job, and it's very difficult, and it's very, I think, a risky job. Think about. Look at I talk about California, so people know more geographic history drew by the news. The summertime, the big fire that they destroyed so many
that's right.
hectares in California. Look at the rain that you have all flooding area. You could like the frost that you have so cold.
Yeah.
So you have a farmer that base hope that everything go well to have enough quantity of
Well, I
grapes.
tell you, I sure hope the big corporations don't come in and start gobbling them all up. I sure like the idea of those small vineyards and those great labels and all the cool stuff that goes with it.
A little bit of that happens.
Okay, so Todd, this is kind of for you. So you own the Red, White, and Brew.
Yes.
And you sell all kind of stuff, from beer to a wonderful selection of wine. Bourbon's real popular right now.
Yeah,
So
spirits.
So
And cigars.
and cigar. So so talk on that, like for people out there just wanting to enrich their lives a little bit with more spirits and more things. What do you find comes through the door when somebody's looking to enhance their palate?
Well, I bought the Red, White, and Brew in 2012, and I bought it because of my love for wine. That's where it came from.
You was kind of a late bloomer.
I was a late bloomer, yeah. In fact, I always
But you
liked...
made up hard.
big time. But I've always liked wine. Way back
Wine was your first love.
I tell my wife was my first love. But wine's where it's at. So I loved wine for a really long period of time. But in 2006, we had this little thing happen in New Orleans called Katrina.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah.
Well, I was working for a wholesale company who sold tile and stone at the time. And I got a visit from this guy whose house got flooded or the roof got damaged and needed to replace tile in his house. And I'm like, yeah, I can help you, but we're kind of wholesale, so I can't sell retail to you, but I can get you set up through a retail. He said, oh, I understand. He said, I'm wholesale too. I'm like, oh, cool, what do you do? He said, I sell wine. Boom. Thus a beautiful friendship began.
That's the universe working.
But the stars aligned. But the cool thing is every Friday he would have a staff meeting, and my office was probably a mile from his office.
Yeah.
And after his staff meeting on Fridays, he would say, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, I got a light afternoon. What's up? He said, "Come on over. I just opened up 15 different wines." And I would go every Friday and sit down. My friend Glenn, by the way, I would sit down and we would taste 15 different wines, and I would drill him with a million questions. And I would
So was he good? Glenn was good, huh?
He's forgotten more than I'll probably ever know. So he's super, super knowledgeable guy. But that's kind of where my real love for wine came about. Fast forward a little bit, and I wanted to open up a wine shop. But I looked in Hammond. So I talked to Hammond, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not giving out any more liquor licenses in Hammond." So I walked away. I said, "Okay, cool." I got a call one Friday afternoon. Glenn's daughter calls me. She said, "Hey, I heard the Red, White, and Brew might be for sale." I'm like, "Really?" So get me in touch with the owners and let me find out how I buy it. So we bought it. Fast forward, here we are 12 years later. But I bought it for the wine wall. And the wine wall is still probably about 40% of our business. So it's a huge chunk of our business. And it's because I'm there and I talk to people that come in and ask questions about wine. We're really competitive in price. So you don't have to go to a grocery store and buy some grocery store brand, no disrespect to the grocery stores, because they do what they do for a reason. But you can come to me and you can buy some boutique wines with smaller production and better quality and more hands-on approach to winemaking. And I can recommend to you anything you want. If you like sweet, I've got sweet. If you like dry, I've got dry. If you like big and bold and chewy.
You're not emotional about any of it.
I'm not. But the key is to have the right mix of wine so that when a customer walks in and says, "I like this style of wine," you can take them to that style of wine.
By the way, for beer and booze too, for whiskey too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the craft beer world is crazy right now, but if you want to talk about that, we probably need a whole nother podcast to talk about that.
So, Antonio, you represent Italian wine through the whole state of Louisiana?
Yes, I work for RNDC, that is a Republican National Distributor Company, and I'm responsible to to present the Italian wine, the Italian portfolio for this distributor in all entire state of Louisiana.
And so you cover restaurants?
Majority, I do private owner restaurants, small wine
shops,
store, very few hotel. Technically, every place where people are in position to take a decision. So I don't do corporation, I don't do chain as a grocery store, I don't do any kind of these franchise restaurants. In this, our company have a specific people because it's different, completely routine about this.
So how do you keep that Italian wine in front of that competition? I mean, I know you're charming. They want to buy just because you're Antonio.
That's part of it.
But if you wasn't, if
No,
But he also peddles good juice, though. That's the most important.
Take a lot of things. One thing I learned from my dad, try to find the right translation, political word to be here in front of people, is you can screw a person one time, but you cannot screw two times. So I always treat everybody in the best way to sell what I think will be the best wine based the area where they are, and always offer my service to help them to promote the wine. Right. So I not only present to you a wine, wash my hand, walk out, come back after 3 months and kick you another wine, but I follow concerning to educate you, anybody in your staff that want to be educated, help you to promote the wine through wine tasting,
That's the
wine
reason
dinner,
we're doing this tonight.
to dinner, to make base a lot more people involved behind a first sell. And I do this for the past 30 years. So technically, I not only sell wine, but I sell me with the wine to help you to go in business together to develop something unique.
But I got to brag on you, Antonio, because I saw it firsthand, man. This guy, you knew when we showed up to the vineyard, they knew Antonio. And Antonio went, he wanted to see the barrels, he wanted to see the storage. He was talking and asking smart questions, and I was just blown away about the whole thing and loved it. But he was mixing in a little fun with it, but I could tell you was looking around on the business side of it too, and that's important. I mean, you got to keep these guys in check because you're selling that product, but your name's tied to it too, right?
And this is based what you call reputation. Cioè, I don't leave you by yourself. I put myself on. I guarantee you that we are together. Sometimes I'm successful, that the wine like and sell. Sometimes we try, and maybe people don't like it. We move in different wine. Yeah. In the other hand, you need to update yourself a lot. Because again, like we mentioned, think about the big evolution of the wine. There's so many wineries in Italy. I don't have a clue how many there are, honest, because from the time I'm here, I try to keep myself connected, but they're growing more and more and more. You go in California 2 years later, in the same street, come out a new winery, you know? And the same thing happening in Italy. You have a young generation that are attractive to this business, that is a great business to develop what you love, to make money, of course, and at the same time to try to create something different than anybody else.
Yeah. One thing I can speak intelligently to, though, is that, customers, salespeople rather, like Antonio, come in and, you've only got so much wall space. So you've got to really be picky about what you buy to put on that wall that you think somebody would have a palate for. So he'll come and we'll have lunch and we'll sit down and we'll taste 6, 7, 8, 10 wines sometimes, and I might buy 1 or 2 of them because, number one, I'm limited space. Number two, I'm thinking, do I have a customer for this? The North Shore, Baton Rouge, and most of the Hammond area for sure, very California driven. We probably sell 85% California wines. So when you're picking out a wine from a guy like this, you got to make sure that it's a very specific range of flavors that your customers will appreciate. So that's the fun part of procuring, is that you kind of get to listen to your customers and learn what they like, and then buy wines that they want to drink. Because if you don't sell it, you're not going to be in business very long.
Well, I want to get into that too, because I've been knowing y'all both for a while, and I'm in the oil field, but sales is a really big part of what I've done for 30 years, and I have a sales force and teach sales. And I guess this just goes with age too, but I'll speak on my experience with y'all too. Apologize for that. That's my computer hooked to my phone. But what I've noticed with both of y'all is, Antonio, when I was touring with you, what I appreciated was that you took the decision making out of my hands. In other words, we sat down, wine was coming, food was coming, and you educated me on what food was coming, what was the tradition, what was the wines, what was the good things, what to look for, what to think about. Appreciated that. Todd, I hung around your place with you. People walk in, they looking for things. There was no hard selling. It was mainly, hey, y'all line of questions were, let me help you find what you like, but let's discover what you like.
Yes.
Instead of me pushing something, wink, wink on the side. Speak on that. Did I miss it there?
No, you're right on target. In fact, look, I'm gonna say this with as much respect as I can. There's about 15 distributors in the market probably who sell wine. A couple of them are really big. He works for one of the big ones. Now, this is not the guy, but there are sales reps who come in who have been incentivized to push a brand. When you walk into the brew, when you walk into a small bottle shop, I'm only incentivized by selling something. I'm not here to hard sell you, but you come in, and just like any good salesperson does, you just qualify the customer. You say, what do you like? What do you normally drink? What do you want to spend? You ask all these qualifying questions, and if you know your wine wall well enough, because I've personally tasted every single bottle that's on that wall, so you kind of narrow down all of those choices, and you say, here's what I recommend based on what you told me. Or if they come in saying, I'm eating this type of food, I'll say, these types of wines pair beautifully with that type of food. I would get one of these too if they're in your budget. And thank God they usually go, well, give me both of them. I'll take both of them. So it works out good. But the key is there's no hard selling in this industry, man. Not my side of it. Right?
We're human beings first. Right? I mean, you just want to drink a glass with a pleasant person.
Yeah, that's it.
And it makes it so much better.
Yeah. And I've always got wine open. We have 12 wines on draft. If somebody says, well, I don't know what style, I can sit them down and give them a small flight of wines and go, tell me what you like out of those, and we can grab something off the wall based on that. So that's good. We're set up.
What kind of bourbon we drinking tonight? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's cool. So Regina and I, my lovely wife, we went to Kentucky this year, and we went to see a little distillery called Maker's Mark. If you ever heard of Maker's Mark before, they make some great bourbons. So what they do is they have a barrel program. So most times you hear a customer say, we did a barrel pick. They literally either tasted a bunch of samples and picked their favorite barrel, or they went to the distillery and tasted a bunch of different barrels and picked their favorite barrel and bought it. Maker's Mark is a little bit different because they're the only distillery that rotates their barrels in the rickhouse, right? And by rotating your barrels in the rickhouse, you keep a more consistent flavor profile from barrel to barrel.
How many years are we talking about?
Probably 8 years is the most common age statement on their
So you
bourbons.
buy it and you waiting for 8 years?
No, they've been aging for 8 years already. But if
Okay.
you think about it, a rickhouse gets really hot at the top and it doesn't get hot at the bottom. So that heat influences that bourbon way faster, right? Because it's at the top. So most distilleries will take barrels from the top of their rickhouse and they'll go all the way down across like that in the next pattern, and they'll pick a bunch of barrels and then they'll make a blend. So they still get a pretty consistent flavor profile. Maker's Mark rotates their barrels every day, so each barrel is consistently the same flavor. So in order for you to do a barrel pick with these guys, it would taste exactly like almost the rest of them. So they developed this program where they take staves, and a stave is just a piece of wood that the barrel is made out of, and they toast them different ways. They use different types of wood, they toast them different ways, and those staves impart flavor into that bourbon. So you sit down, you taste all of these different stave-influenced bourbons. They make a little beaker blend for you. You taste it and go, all right, make these. Give me 2 of this, 2 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this. And it's 10 total. You can mix it any way you want to. And then you taste it, and you go, this is missing a little something. It's a little too hot. It's a little too spicy.
Process of elimination.
It is. And then the third batch,
This smells amazing.
well, wait till you taste it. I told the guy who was working with us, I said, look, I really, really love this, but it's missing a little bit of that toasted marshmallow sweetness that you usually get with bourbon. He said, all right, change these 2 out and put these 2 in. And then we tasted it, and it was bam. It was spot on. So when I said I've done north
So
of
basically you bought a barrel that you liked.
we designed the barrel. That's the even cooler part about it. So you get 246 bottles yield out of the thing roughly, and they send it with your label on it, your name. You can call it whatever you want. The Red White.
But it's the real deal. They do it.
This is it. Yeah. And the guy that was our host had done 600 barrels, so he really knew what he was doing. So when we got to the third one, I said, all right. His name was Woody. I said, Woody, is this one your favorite? He said, I never tell a customer it's my favorite, but that's delicious. So that's why we said, yeah, that's definitely the one. And we had a few people with us who were traveling with us, and they all got to taste it too. So I think it
fun
drinks.
and that's cool.
I think it drinks as smooth as a good cognac, with a little bit of that bourbon sweetness to it. So I'm a big fan. So most of these sell for about $79.99 retail. That's what we decided to retail it for. Now it is barrel strength and the heat. So the proof is a little bit higher. It's not like an 80 proof bourbon that you would buy off the shelf.
Wow, that's good.
But it's delicious, man.
Around the 90?
Probably 124. So it's pretty warm. But it doesn't drink that hot. You know what I'm saying? You get a little heat in the beginning, and then all those
So
flavors.
you cannot
start
smoke with this. You catch on fire.
Yeah, you can run your car with it, though. It's not quite that hot, but it is delicious, though.
Antonio,
So that's our bourbon pick.
how often do you get back to Italy?
I try, definitely I go every year. Sometimes I try 2 times a year.
And what span of a time when you go?
My 2 favorite time of the years is beginning of June. In the other end is end of September, beginning of October. This I love it. for two different way. June is great, ending of the spring, beginning of the summer, not too many people. September is, of course, the beautiful harvest. And October, sometime right now, I'm able to arrive the last 2 weeks, third weeks of October, you are able to enjoy, have the first olive oil. When they
Olive
harvest the olive to produce the fresh, brand new oil.
Oh, yeah.
Great. And this year I had a chance to have bring with me olive oil made 2 days before.
And we got to go with him this year. It was wonderful. So
Yep.
it's a great trip.
I tell you, just olive oil, the wonderful cheese, the
Pecorino.
where did we go? Was it cheap?
Yes, in Tuscany, majority is this small village of Pienza,
Pienza,
where come the cheese Pecorino di Pienza. Pecora is a sheep milk from sheep, so you have Pecorino cheese from the city of Pienza.
And your cured meat is outstanding.
Oh, it's awesome.
That was
Prosciutto, salame,
prosciutto,
and keep it going.
salami.
Finocchiona,
Phenomenal.
capocollo, etc., etc.
So olive oil, and then of course the wine, and you can live off of that. And they have wonderful bread, and you can see where y'all. I think the Italian people. And Todd, I'd love for you to chime in. Americans, they can have a lot to learn from Italians. I mean, y'all been doing this shit a long time. Y'all figured out the formula a long time. But I think, for the most part, y'all celebrate life so well. I mean, like we run into a restaurant, they trying to turn a table, you in and out, and we're cool with getting out under an hour. And every meal we had nobody was looking at their watch.
Oh, no.
And so that meant so much to me and Dee Dee.
Freshness to the freshness of everything.
Yeah, and everything's a little process, and let's take a break, and then the limoncello at the end, and the cigar.
A little
and-
slice of heaven.
I mean, and Todd's the best at it. So, what would you say to our fellow Americans, Todd? What have you learned the last 12 years owning the Red, White, and Brew, and how to tweak your life to live a more enhanced life?
Well, I think the first problem we do wrong in America is we work too much. And I'm guilty of that too. But when I go to Cortona with Antonio, we went this year, and it was an amazing trip. You realize that the Italians are very different than the Americans are. They're very laid back. Their food is mind-blowingly delicious, and it's nothing like you eat in America, by the way. They don't do things like Cisco. There's no food service trucks in Cortona. They buy stuff from the market fresh every day. So I think even though we ate 5 times as much as we eat when we live here, the food was so good. The food is so good and so fresh that you just process it, man.
Well,
It's
your
amazing,
body's
yeah.
just rewarding you and telling you. We went this summer too with my wife and my daughter. We went to Venice, but we went to Greece for a minute, and man, that whole diet they have over there, and we did it there. It's like amazing if you don't eat processed food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Now, the big cities do have food services. I don't want to mislead anybody out there, but the small cities like Cortona, man, everything is so fresh every day. It's just fantastic.
But and I know because Antonio's a rock star over there, but every restaurant we went in, the owner comes out, and not only comes out,
It's
they tell
hilarious.
us everything about the meal and
Because it is a love for what they're doing.
Absolutely.
They really want to take
passion,
care,
right.
passion, want to take care of you. You see the restaurants, there are no 400 people sit down restaurants. These are tiny restaurants with
30,
8,
40.
Exactly, 8
Maybe at
table,
the most,
6
8
table.
table, right.
So really the owner is a part of the base of the restaurant. Sometimes you have a husband and wife, like we went.
that's
the
right.
wife can be a chef, and the husband around the front, or vice versa. You know.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Right, absolutely.
include the owner. Only is important for them. Make sure that everything is taken care because it's their reputation.
And the menu is what's fresh. Like I think we were there. It was wild boar was in
Depends on
season,
season
and
what
this
is.
vegetable was in
mushrooms.
season.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely.
And it is the beauty
Truffles.
because so you are able to change, include, like you say, you want to go. I go to times of a year in Italy. In June, I have something that I cannot enjoy in September or October because it's different season.
right.
So you can
Seasonally
have something similar but completely different, and this can be nice for a tourist too. You can go 1 year in June, 1 year you go in September, 1 year you go, for instance, for Christmas. You experiment different food in the same exact restaurants.
Well, we can talk for 3 more hours, but we
Easily.
got guests coming in. So hey, how about if we do this? Because we're going to do this at least twice a year. And Todd, you're going to come in for some bourbon.
Absolutely.
And so we'll just make it a habit to do a podcast and let all the viewers do it. So how do they get in touch with you, Antonio? Or is there any information we need to know about which you going, anything you need to advertise today?
No, really. Enjoy. Come to our class.
Yeah.
Come to our class that we're doing. That will be beautiful experience to learn.
Yeah.
Maybe some class we are doing here. Participate the next time to enjoy, learn different type of wine.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
A large.
We're going to have plenty. This is the first of many.
Yeah.
Todd, how do we keep up with the brew and what you up to, dude?
Well, first of all, he's on the wholesale side of the business. So if you want to buy product,
you
you got
cannot buy
to
from
work
me.
with somebody who's a retailer. I'm a retailer. There's several ways you can keep up with us and what we do. Number one, you can go to our Facebook page and like us and follow us.
And how do you do that?
Facebook, it's the Red, White, and Brew, right? It's in Hammond, Louisiana. Follow us on Facebook. Hit the follow button, hit the like button. You'll keep up with us that way. We also have a website. It's not a very good website, but it has links to all the other things we do, like to our tasting schedules and all those different things. And you can email me personally if you'd like to. My email is Todd, Todd, at redwhitebrew.com. Red White Brew. No Red White and Brew, but redwhitebrew.com. Send me an email. I'll be happy to respond to you. You can message me on Facebook. There's lots and lots of ways to get in touch with me if you have questions about products or anything. Anything he sells, I have access to. So if it's Italian you want, we got you covered. Yeah. And if it's anything else you want, I got you covered.
And they
too.
can stop by. Where's your place?
Absolutely. Stop by and see us. We're at 120 East Thomas Street in downtown Hammond, Louisiana, historic downtown, beautiful little downtown. It's probably the coolest little downtown in South Louisiana, except for New Orleans without the crime.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So that's that.
And you got a cool cigar shop right down the street.
Also have a cigar shop right down the street called Boutique de Fumée, and that means the smoke shop in French, because a lot of us out here are French. And we do really cool stuff there, too. We literally just had a company make cigars for us. We barrel-aged it in one of our barrels that we did last year. And we let the bourbon influence the flavor of that cigar. Now we're selling those at the shop this week. We just released them today, as a matter of fact. So lots of cool stuff. Cigars, pipes, pipe tobacco. We have a tobacconist that works for us named Bryce, does his own custom blends of tobacco. So we had a lot of fun stuff going on. Come see us in downtown Hammond. We'd love to have you. If you want to taste some wines, like I said, I got 12 wines on
And look,
draft.
Todd's there all the time, him and
All the
Reg,
time,
and they got just a phenomenal group of people. Antonio, thank you for coming, man. We got
You're
a
welcome.
wine tasting. We got
Yes.
people banging down the door. Hey, listen, tell all your friends we have our new newspaper, the Cafe Chronicles.
Nice.
Okay, get on your phone, App Store, Cafe Detente, Detente. That's our newspaper. So the deal is our tagline is to escape your algorithm. And what that means is that we're going to report to ourselves. Todd at the Red, White, and Brew, he has a tile, and basically he's going to show us how to mix drinks and tell us a little bit about wine and bourbon. We're going to get into that. Follow us at Cafe Detente LA, or join the cafe CafeDaytonLA.com. Guys, thank y'all for coming.
You're welcome.
Can we do this again?
Anytime. Yeah.
All right,
No
brother.
problem, no problem.
Little cheers.
Salud.
Salute.
Salute. All right, see y'all next time.